Agenda item 401, 301, 201, Plaza de Panama project. And as I think most of you know, this is not the first time they have come to the Balboa Park Committee. I think this is the 17th or 18th time they've presented. There's been lots of presentation, lots of feedback, lots of workshop, lots of opportunity for public comment, as is tonight's presentation. The way we're going to roll this out, the consultants, first city staff, Daniels will present, the consultants will present, we'll open it up to public comment, and then we'll open it up to committee discussion. That's how we're planning to do it right now. So with that, I will turn it over to Charlie Daniels.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the Balboa Park Committee. My name is Charlie Daniels. I'm a park designer with the Park and Recreation Department, and as you noted, we are here for the Balboa Park Plaza de Panama Circulation and Parking Structure Project. Just as a little bit of background on the process, this identifies the public project review process. It's considered a process 5 approval, which means that we'll need to go to City Council for final approval. Plan amendment initiation is required by the Planning Commission, which was done in 2010. The next step in this project is plan amendment and site development permit preparation with the community input. And as you noted, that's what we've been doing for the last year and a half. The approval process requires quite a few votes by advisory committees. The first 5 listed up there are advisory to City Council, review by the Balboa Park Committee, the Park and Recreation Board's Design Review Committee, then the Park and Recreation Board, the Historical Resources Board, and the Planning Commission, with final approval by City Council. You may or may not know this project has gone through quite a bit of community input. The project team, in addition to many others, has gone to the adjacent planning groups. We've been to the Balboa Park Committee on this project 17 times, to the Center City Advisory Committee 3 times, Greater Golden Hill Planning Committee 3 times, North Park Planning Committee 4 times, and Uptown Planners 5 times. As far as city advisory bodies in terms of boards, it's been to the Park and Recreation Board 2 times, Park and Recreation Board is the Design Review Committee once, Historic Resources Board 6 times, HRB's Design Assistance Subcommittee once, Mayor's Committee on Disabilities twice, and it was actually at the Planning Commission this morning as an information item. And as noted, there have been many other stakeholder meetings. The requirements of this project, due to its scope, are community plan amendments. It requires amendments to the Balboa Park Master Plan, which was adopted originally in 1989, to the Central Mesa Precise Plan, which was originally adopted in 1992. It also requires a site development permit due to impacts on historic resources and due to environmentally sensitive lands, namely steep hillsides. The project also requires an environmental impact report. Tonight we're here to request your action on the project. We're asking for your recommendation on the Balboa Park Master Plan amendments, the Central Mesa Precise Plan amendments, and on the site development permit plans. As noted, this project has been to the adjacent planning groups. These are the recommendations from those planning groups from their meeting minutes. On November 9th, 2011, Center City Advisory Committee voted 12-7-3 to recommend approval of the project as proposed, and they had one condition, and that was that the consultants work to make the Centennial Bridge more aesthetically pleasing. On February 16th, 2012, the Uptown Planners voted 9-5-1 to recommend approval of the project as proposed by the Plaza de Panama Committee. There were no conditions. On July 13th, 2011, the Greater Golden Hill Planning Committee voted 10-3-0 to oppose the project, or the proposed bypass bridge proposed by the project. They took another vote on March 14th, 2012, with a vote of 8-5-2 to recommend denial of the project and support EIR alternative 4B III. On April 17th, 2012, the North Park Planning Committee voted 11-1-0 to recommend denial of the project without conditions. As noted, the plan amendments were initiated by the Planning Commission on October 21st, 2010. At that hearing, the Planning Commission identified 10 issues to be addressed during the project, and we'll just read them together, everybody loud. Historic resource protection was the first one on the list. Universal accessibility, availability and accessibility of parking, traffic circulation and pedestrian safety, accessibility of public and park transit. They wanted to consider all alternatives. They wanted us to consider aesthetics. They wanted parking provided below grade. They wanted to consider future phasing. And they wanted to explore opportunities for future transit stations, particularly along Park Boulevard. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Mark Johnson with Civitas to kind of give a recap on the status of the project, talk about how they've addressed these issues that the Planning Commission brought up, and we can turn it back over to the committee.
Good evening. This is the 18th time that we've been here in 20 months, so it's wonderful to see you all again, and all of you also. The project has been long, challenging, extremely highly studied, extremely highly debated, and I'd like to begin by saying that we have improved and learned a lot about this project and the needs of the park as a result of nearly 200 total meetings throughout this city and into the county that we've held in the past 20 months. The project is better because of that input. Even those who have challenged us have sharpened our focus and helped us understand something which I think is critically important, is to answer the question is what is the right balance of elements in Balboa Park? What you're looking at on the slide is the Arbor Day of 1904. In the approximately 140 years ago, some visionary people got together and said they would create a great city surrounding a great park. I'd say they've been pretty successful. Here in 1906, that effort started to take root. You see people walking up Marston Hill, and to see the initial plantings of that park starting to emerge. Civic leaders around 1910 got together and had an idea that was popular at the turn of the century to hold a great exposition to showcase this budding young city to the world. They hired Bertrand Goodhue, architect from New York, and this is one of many, many sketches and watercolors that he did about his idea of making a city on the hill that would house this exposition and capture the magic of not just the community, but the world. Those same leaders were successful. It was very controversial. It was not an easy process for them. And here you see them at the groundbreaking, beginning that great enterprise. They marketed this exhibition very, very heavily. There were hundreds and hundreds of views that were painted and drawn, such as this one, which is a cover photo of a postcard book showing the Cabrillo Bridge and the city on the hill before the exposition was completed. And they built it, as you see here, this beautiful romantic landscape of shrubs and trees, bridge and city. And people came actually in droves, much more than was expected. And what you see here is people at the opening exposition walking across the bridge and various events taking place on the Prado, which really was the focus of the promenade that the exposition became. But over the years, it became different. It became loved by San Diegans far and wide, of every stripe, for every possible reason. For recreation, here you see for protest, for weddings, for any number of things. Building up a great community and diversity of people who love this place for the magic that it holds. But of course, cars came to the park very early also. They were welcomed in by the Parks Commission in 1918, you see in the upper right. And here, even in an advertisement, the idea of scenic drives in parks was very, very popular in the 20s and 30s in the Romantic era in our country. But of course, the cars haven't gone away, and they're still here. You see them in 1928 at the top, what looks to be the mid-50s on the lower left, and probably the 70s on the lower right. And what's happened is that there's a shift that the cars are taking up so much of the space that's not really what was intended by those people who began this park in the first place. So here you see an historic photograph from the California Tower of Plaza de Panama in the Prado. And I submit that the magic of this park is in the balance of the cultural institutions and the park spaces and this assembly of wonderful landscapes, plazas, and buildings that we know as Balboa Park. I know of no other park in the world that brings together 23 institutions that attract so many people who value their experience here, which is entertainment, recreational, and educational through the cultural offerings that we have. And they have needs, just as the people who see this place as a park for recreation or respite have needs. The balance is in finding how to provide access that those institutions need so they can grow and thrive, and access for general park users who can find a relaxing and wonderful environment without impediment. I further submit that the park is well out of balance, and the balance has been given over to the car. And that's why we're here tonight. As you know, the Prado East was closed in 1973, and up until that time you could drive all the way through the park to Park Boulevard. If you look at the activity on the left, it's very clear. The Prado East is filled with people, the Prado West is filled with cars. How did this happen? Well, this is not a random event. In 1957, Mayor Dale appointed a task force to figure out what to do to deal with the problems of Balboa Park. The historic buildings were in a terrible state of deterioration. There were cars in the park. There were people competing for different uses within the park. And in 1958, that task force concluded with a headline in the front page above the fold in the San Diego Union, May 28, 1958, "Cars out of the park." That led to the city hiring the first master plan for the park, first comprehensive modern master plan, which was the Bartholomew Plan, approved in 1960, and one image is shown here on the left. The Bartholomew Plan was seen by some as advanced. It suggested removing buildings that were deteriorating and building new modern buildings. It suggested a bypass bridge going north off of the Cabrillo Bridge with a road going under the Cabrillo Bridge up through Palm Canyon to the Palisades. And this plan ran into trouble quickly. As soon as buildings started being demolished, some very, very special and heartfelt people got together and formed the Committee of 100 to stop the demolition and cause a new focus on this park. And since that time, many more groups have put a tremendous amount of energy into making this park the rich place that it is. Vicky Estrada, who's part of our team and in the room tonight, led over a 9-year period an effort to develop the Balboa Park Master Plan, approved in '89, and the precise plan you see here in 1992. That plan suggested a partial removal of parking from the core of the park. That too has not yet happened. I think some combination of a lack of perhaps leadership, perhaps funding, but the major recommendations of this plan did not happen. Then from 2002 to 2004, I personally led an effort called the Land Use, Circulation, and Parking Plan for Balboa Park, which I think a broad consensus of people liked the recommendations. It was a project that built quite a bit of parking structures but had a great emphasis on transit as well. The problem was there wasn't leadership or money because this plan was approximately a $400 million plan. So it didn't really go anywhere, but it holds some good ideas. So then when that didn't seem to have traction, I was then asked to lead the 2006 Parking Management Plan for Balboa Park. And we studied the details of parking and how parking operates in the park very carefully and came up with recommendations for managing how people use parking in the park. And while I think these are all steps in making progress, these recommendations also did not happen. That brings us to today. What I'm saying to you is there have been 55 years of public discussion, technical studies, heated debate, passionate emotions about what should happen in this park. I believe our project addresses and finds that balance that no other park can have with so many institutions and so many people that love it, of giving this park back to people, but still accommodating the access needs of the institutions. Tonight you're being asked to approve essentially two things. the amendments to the master plan and the precise plan for the Central Mesa, and the site development permit. I'm just going to show you a few examples of what those things are, mostly so that people in the audience have an understanding of some of the detail that is here. The amendments to the park master plan go sentence by sentence and drawing by drawing, and with a strikeout and final version show you exactly what would need to be changed in the 1989 master plan to accommodate this project. So you're looking at here the revised master plan drawing showing the project in place. And here in a more detailed drawing on the lower left, you've seen one of our renderings that you've seen many, many times. And on the right, the revised master plan amendment that, if approved, would fully incorporate this project. In the precise plan is for the Central Mesa only, goes into much more detail than the master plan. And the precise plan is similarly amended line by line, strikeout, page by page, drawing by drawing, to incorporate the recommendations of the project. So here, for example, you see the rooftop park being incorporated into the precise plan with the road alignments, etc., that are part of our proposal. Here you see a revision to the parking allotments for the park, which, if our plan is adopted and these amendments are adopted, actually reduces the theoretical amount of parking in the Central Mesa by approximately 500 cars. Even though we're adding about 270 cars with our project, the plan amendment would reduce the cap down by about 500. Here you're seeing the new free and open parkland that's created in these amendments with the project. And here the tram route, which we've explained in detail to you before. And in particular, I would note that we are proposing to build the tram from the Palisades to the Plaza, but the precise plan amendment allows that tram to be expanded from 6th all the way to Park Boulevard, so it starts for the first time to set up and allow for viable transit access from neighborhoods into the heart of the park. The site development permit is something that is greatly more detailed, tantamount to the beginning of construction documents. And what you see here, for example, the bridge, these are detailed design engineering drawings in which you can study. You may need the assistance of an architect or an engineer to fully understand what these mean, but there is a very detailed set. Here are landscape plans, the routes, the walkways, the service routes. All of these are identified in the site development permit, and if approved, these are what we must provide. Here you see the light fixture plan. As we've told you before, we'll be recreating these historic light fixtures in cast aluminum. So here you see the number and location of all those fixtures. And here, lastly, you have the architecture. All of the elements of architecture that we have shown you before are encoded here and drawn in detail. So if this amendment is approved, they can be constructed as drawn. Now, I'd like to close just to reassert that I think we have found a balance here. I believe that this plan opens the center of the park up for people as the founders always intended. I believe that it supports the future conversion of a higher level of transit access to the core of the park, which so many people have asked for. I believe that it provides the direct access to the museums and other park amenities that the community so needs as we watch people circling and circling on a daily basis looking for parking spaces. And I believe that it finds the balance between providing the historic benefit of the rehabilitation of the core of the park for people with the historic impact that the project also necessarily provides. We believe it's a fair balance. Oh, and one more thing. Today, Soho has posted on their website that tonight they're going to release what they call Jacob's Plan B. I would just like to remind you that this is the Lewis Soho plan. It has nothing to do with our project or Dr. Jacobs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. The committee will have opportunity to ask questions of Mark Johnson and also Charlie Daniels a little bit better later when we get to committee discussion. Right now, I'm going to, as promised, move into public comment. And as you can imagine, the number of people here tonight, I have a huge number of requests from people to speak. I find it gratifying that so many of you are so passionate about Balboa Park, and I want to accommodate everyone. Because of the hour and because we've had, this is the 18th meeting that we've had, all involving public comment. And because so many of you are standing, and again, I apologize for that, with the permission of the committee, I am going to limit speaker time to 30 seconds each tonight.
Come on, get with it.
Any objections from the committee? Mike?
Even though all this has been talked about quite a bit, I think 30 seconds is not enough for members to really have any substantial statements with the public members. So I would suggest a minute at least.
I'll leave that up to committee. I would entertain a motion.
Move to allow a minute of public comment per individual.
Okay. Susan, did you get that? Dr. Khan has moved that we allow 1 minute. Is there a second to that motion? Mike Singleton, a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of allowing public testimony to be 1 minute, please raise your hand. It's, okay, and those opposed? One. I didn't think anyone abstained. Okay, committee's decision is to allow 1 minute, so we will begin. I'm going to begin with organized reports, or at least people who have ceded their time to someone else, and then we'll get to individual reports. First, we'll start with John Zybart. We have 3 people who have ceded their time to you, so you will have 4 minutes, sir. I want to wait a second until Susan's had time to get the 4 minutes on the clock.
Thank you. My name is John Zebart, 2900 4th Avenue, San Diego, California. First of all, I'm really concerned that you're moving forward with any kind of action tonight without having seen the comments or the responses to the comments from the EIR. So how can you evaluate what all this time that everybody's put into? And the reason why I say that is the EIR identifies the project as having significant unavoidable impacts. The council is going to have to take action to make overriding findings when I believe, and according to the DEIR, that there are environmentally superior projects, such as the precise plan, that I believe the traffic is actually less safe than what is proposed with the precise plan. There's less parking, it's less economical, it's less sustainable, it discriminates against the disabled, it creates a roadway as a pedestrian barrier trying to get to Palm Canyons or the houses of hospitality. It creates less usable parkland, and it creates greater logistical impacts on the operation of the parks than some of the other alternatives. So shouldn't you, before you take any action, look at the comments to the EIR and see if there isn't a better alternative? And I'll give you an example. Precise plan. It's already been approved. And what it does, and the problem we have is implementation. That's what Mark talked about. Okay, how can we implement the precise plan? Restripe Balboa Drive, pick up 78 to 87 parking spaces, which is more than what's in the Plaza de Panama today. Relocate the disabled parking, the drop off, the valet to the Alcazar parking lot. However, eliminate the impacts of the Centennial Road going through there and trying to get across that for the disabled, which is a discrimination. Because they're the only ones that have to cross that. The roadway right now is that they're proposing shares a 14-foot lane between bicycles and cars. You can reconfigure the roadway that we have in the precise plan to create a dedicated bicycle lane. You can, by doing the precise plan, you recover 90% of the Plaza de Panama 100% of the time. And they talk about activation of the plaza. The whole north half can actually be activated by the Museum of Art, the Timken Gallery. The southwest corner can be activated by the main gate, and the other side, southeast, could be done by the Prado. And then when you need a special event, and we do it all the time today, close the bridge, close the plaza. You use it when you really need to have full access for pedestrians. You know, when you look at the parking lot, they've already admitted that they are providing 500 less parking spaces than are in the precise plan. What I propose is look at Gold Gulch. The plaza, the plan they propose actually removes 142,000 cubic yards of dirt. The Gold Gulch alternative, as spelled out in the EIR, is only 51,000 cubic yards of dirt. That's a significant less impact. They're building almost a half a mile of retaining walls, 14,000 square feet of retaining walls. That's not including the additional retaining walls for the parking structure. You can recover with the Gold Gulch solution, which is in a disturbed canyon, already disturbed. You can pick up 5.9 acres of usable parkland by recovering the Palisades versus the 2.2 that's on the rooftop, because of all the lost area that is actually being created just to provide ventilation, hopefully, for the parking structure. So before you move further on this at all, let's find out what the comments on the EIR says. Let's find out what the responses to those are. Make an informed decision. Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Mike Kelly, and Mike, 3 people have ceded their time to you as well, so you will have 4 minutes.
Good evening. I'm Michael Kelly, President of the Committee of 100. Since 1967, the Committee of 100 has been dedicated to preserving Balboa Park's historic architecture. What makes city parks great is its public space. And that's why the Plaza de Panama project came about. Balboa Park's grandest public spaces for too long have been taken over by the automobile. We commend Mayor Sanders and Dr. Jacobs on their initiative and their commitment to reclaiming this public space. The Committee of 100 fully supports the goals, and we always have all along supported the goals of the Plaza de Panama project. But the project is asking you to achieve those goals with a new bypass bridge at the ceremonial entrance to Balboa Park. It's the wrong solution. The public deserves to enjoy Balboa Park without dodging traffic. We don't need a bypass bridge that brings more traffic into the heart of Balboa Park. We do need a better shuttle system to encourage people to park their cars in peripheral lots or to use public transportation. During the 1960s, San Diego City Council made a critical mistake. All too willing to accept the generosity of private donors and the conditions specified by those donors, 2 1915 exposition buildings were demolished and 2 modern structures took their place right on the Plaza de Panama. San Diegans soon came to realize that these modern structures were out of place in the very heart of Balboa Park's dream city. The Committee of 100 believes that the right solution is to close Cabrillo Bridge to traffic. Instead of a bridge congested by automobiles, the Cabrillo Bridge would become a wonderful pedestrian space added to the wonderful public spaces proposed by the Plaza de Panama project. We already closed the Cabrillo Bridge for special events. That's what we did during our 2 expositions, and that's what we should do during our centennial celebration. Permanently closing the Cabrillo Bridge to traffic will achieve all the goals of the Plaza de Panama project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And the last organized presentation I have is Bill Lewis, and I have, you will have, according to the number of slips I have, you will have 24 minutes.
We'll do it fast.
While Bruce is setting up for that, I'm going to take some individual speakers at this time. And I'm going to start with Judy Swink, followed by Christian Chapin.
Good evening. I'm not going to, I'm sorry, I'm Judy Swink. I'm not going to speak to the project tonight. I want to announce to everybody a free public workshop on the Plaza de Panama and alternatives that will be held on May 19th at the Mission Valley Library. There are flyers at the back of the room. If they're all gone when you're leaving, see me and give me your email address and I'll send them to you. This is sponsored by the Council of Design Professionals, which is AIA, American Planning Association, the American Society of Landscape Architects, Citizens Coordinate for Century 3, New School of Architecture and Design, San Diego Architectural Foundation, a Society for Marketing Professionals, and the League of Women Voters is also a co-sponsor. This will not be advocating a particular project or alternative, but it will give you all an opportunity to learn more about some of the other alternatives.
Thank you. Bruce, are you ready to go?
Yes.
I'll take.
I just wanted to make a very quick statement that we should see what the ARI has to say before any kind of vote would be taken, just to know what you're voting for. And that's all basically I have to say. But thank you.
My name is William S. Lewis Jr., FAIA, and it's a privilege to be here tonight, and I hope this is helpful. Goodhue, over 100 years ago, had this idea for Balboa Park. We think it's a good idea. He's a very creative architect, and if I imagine this 100 years ago when little city of San Diego was to do all this, build this great bridge, the battlements, Castle Keep, the tower, the bridge, and the whole thing. And so it all becomes sort of a great thing for us, and in my opinion, it's the first Magic Kingdom in California. Disney would follow 40 years later, but it was a kind of a cartoon thing. This was not. This is serious. This is a Renaissance little town in southern Spain. Okay. Some goals we had just to make sure that we started here on a path that would lead somewhere and that would be helpful. We felt that the first thing, obviously, is to retain this Magic Kingdom. No matter how many cars are there and what's going on now, it's still magic, and we want to make sure it keeps to be there and improve it. We want to eliminate the vehicular circulation in the Prado area there, as the Jacobs Plan does. We think it's absolutely correct to do that. We want this to become magic all over again. We think it's very important, as the cars are out of the middle of the park, to find other places for the cars to be, and those are on the perimeter roads where they serve best, and put the people in the middle. And that's why we feel North Rim Road would work best. It's already 3/4 done. It stops at the Zoo Hospital and carry it on to the west. We think that if this is done, that would minimize the traffic that goes through the zoo, or goes there to the east and west on through the park. And it would also provide other circulation to the places along the north edge of the Prado, the old Globe and some of the museums up there, Museum of Man and so forth. We feel that there is a need for a balance of parking within the park. It's an understanding we have that the Prado area right now we feel is underparked, particularly for those areas that are public oriented. And we need to come in there and provide a parking facility that'll be close in to those facilities. And so we recommend an underground garage in the plaza area today. It's interesting to note, a friend that was over in Europe recently reported in the piazzas in Italy that they're doing the same thing with those piazzas, where they have the same problem. This being an old European town, classic, and the roads are straight, but the same situation. We feel we'd like to eliminate the public transportation required because of long walkways and getting from one place to another. And we also want to eliminate the public costs for parking within the park that would go on. We would like to also recommend that the Pan American Plaza be looked at. It certainly needs some help down there and going in those areas. And then there's some other things to be done as we get into the park area, okay? This would show the existing circulation that's happening in the park, the red lines being where cars go now. And if you'll notice what's happening is that they come in off the bridge and that all the cars are running on through the middle of the park. On the one side, Park Boulevard, which serves as the perimeter road on the park now, most all the parking from the east comes in off it and serves that rather well. But to the north or to the west, we don't have those, okay? I think it's important we speak to what the zoo is going to do. They're coming in with a 4,200 car parking garage and terminal right on the northeast corner of where we are, okay? And it'll be hooked up into the Prado area along the east side of Park Boulevard. It'll be a huge, huge structure in there. Okay? This is the underground showing the piece of it. That's what's happening over there on the right side. That's where the terminal is, and that's where the road that comes in off of the street up to the village area and to the Old Globe area. Proposal A, that we call this the Jacobs Plan, indeed wants to get the pub parking and the cars out of the Prado, which it does, and by doing so it comes off with a bridge there onto the south side. It comes on down into the area, and the rest of this area works the same way as it does now. If you'll notice the kind of hatched area, the hatched area indicates where parking is convenient to the buildings. We found in commercial studies that when people have to travel more than 300 feet, that's a football field, away from where they want to go, they simply keep driving. That's a football field away, and so we're showing here where those people could park, and where it's in the white zone, or what we call dead areas in an area of a project. Those are places where people would be prone not to go. This is a serious thing. If you're doing a commercial facility or doing a public venue of any type, you learn real quick that the public demands these things, and if you're going to be friendly to the public, you want to get the people there close in, and you want to have the access and visibility available to you. Plan B is what we're suggesting here, is where you see the perimeter road up at the north on the top. It goes all the way along the side, servicing the Old Globe Theater, servicing an underground garage in the plaza area on through, and linking up on the west side with the bridge. It would have, this shows a scheme where we have a left turn coming off the bridge, coming into that North Rim Road, and that would be on grade coming through there and working it around. We're also showing that you would have a South Rim Road coming off the other side on down to the other area to where the Pan American Plaza is. All perimeter roads keeping cars out of the village area there and up in the area. We always look to have a pro forma to see where we are. And one of the things this shows to us is if we compare proposal A and B and the yield of what happens for the cars. We need parking up there. In proposal A, coming through it, the yield is 261 cars per the EIR. That means that we have a net gain of 261 cars. On proposal B, the net gain, doing it that way, is 728 cars. A major difference. This is proposal A. Then what we're saying, you'll notice that down in the new garage area they're proposing, there's 785 cars. Bruce, you want to point that out on this right there. And if you go up to where the Prado area is, there's 33 handicap cars for those 8 venues or 9 venues up there. We would then call that today a dead zone, and those people will suffer from that up in that area there. What we're showing here is our proposal with the garage place where we think the real venues are and where it needs to be is over 800 cars sitting right there. And then down below you have the 400 and something cars in the middle. This also allows the access to the garage from the North Rim Road, 2 access points, one by the Old Globe, one by the Art Museum, and then also from the south coming up there from the south end. So you have 3 points, 3-level garage. And this is the same proposal where we would have a access point from the Quince Street Bridge, working with David Rice at the zoo over there, and they're working on this so it gets traffic in there, more convenient to the zoo, and also keeps it out of the park. This would eliminate the bridge right there, the road to the north, and going up into it, so that there would be no changes at all to the bridges that comes on into there. It'd be absolutely pristine as that happens. Then you end up with the western road that comes on down and goes below the bridge and comes in and then services the south end of the park and so on as it goes through. That'd be a very beautiful road coming on through there. Looks like this if you put it all together, and you can see where the bridge comes through there, and then you have the Alcazar Gardens right there, which has been fully restored. It'd be a beautiful thing in the Alcazar Gardens. That was all part of Goodhue's. Goodhue's built the permanent buildings. He knew he didn't have money to do it all, but he wanted the permanent buildings up on the west end, and so all those are the permanent buildings, and those are the ones that we should take a hard look at from his standpoint. And so all those would be restored in their entirety. The other parts of it would be the pedestrian access that goes completely through the park now, as you could come along the Prado area, then on down to Pan American Plaza, all pedestrian oriented, come back there without any cars coming through that, which would make a grand experience. The parking structure, the parking garages now, not the garages, the parking lots, would cover those with trees and berm them on the side so you wouldn't see the cars coming through. It'd be completely car-free from all the way from the plaza area down up north, all the way up into the Prado area and on through. It would literally be a magic kingdom again without all those cars and all those things in the middle again. This is looking from the pergola off of Alcazar Gardens. This is the original drawings, looking at the bridge, and this would be restored and come in. It'd be a beautiful thing. And this is the catenary bridge that crosses Palm Canyon, all part of the Alcazar Gardens, which would be restored and put in. This would be a beautiful thing, all handicapped and all these things. This is showing here how the parking structure works in the underground garage in the middle of the plaza. The plaza would cover it, you wouldn't see the garage. You'd have 3 access points, 2 on the north right up there, and then 1 in the old globe, and then 1 from the south coming on through. And that's where you'd have 3 levels and 819 cars. We would service the venues, the public venues all around there with elevators coming up and stairs. So they would have direct access into all those venues right up in the middle of the Prado area. This would we wouldn't have any dead zones anywhere up in the park in this area. The garage itself, we know commercially some things can happen there. If we put a promenade around, walkway around the side of the garage all the way around, like the one up above, and then we can use that for a graphics wall and so on, and people can walk, it'll make a very handsome thing. The people above can advertise there and know where their venues are, and give it kind of a personal touch, interesting touch that you can't do up above there in the museum. We're showing here, this is the proposal we call B2, service right off Quince Street. As you can see, where you come on down Quince Street, come into there, you have a choice of going straight on through to the east, all the way on there, not going through the park, or you can come on down to south and into the park there and do the venue on through that area. This would lessen and take most of the cars out of the park who are simply trying to get from east to west or west to east on through there. We come in here with the aerospace area, and we've talked to them. We have parking that comes around, clean that up, come back to some of the original things in 1935, but the pool and the cars, and get that to be a very handsome space. And it's another node, a rather accent node to the ones to the north and the Prado area, and connecting those up, which we think would be a very handsome way of doing it. This is the Quince Street Bridge the way it is today. It's a 2-lane bridge that comes only off Interstate 5 going north, Interstate 163 going northbound. Very lightly used, very few traffic on it. Though this could be converted to a bridge that goes into the park, there it is. It would go there for going into the park. It'd be a beautiful area. If you walk down there, you'll see what I'm talking about. You come in, you look up at the bridge, you come on up the hill there and into the Prado area itself. It'd be a glorious experience there. Comparing the 2 proposals in basic parts, this is the way we see it. Number one, to restore the Prado Plaza and the mall, to get the cars off and all that sort of thing. We both plans A and B do that. I think successfully do that. To remove the vehicular circulation from the Prado, both plans do that. Restore the Alcazar Garden to its original deal. B does that. Restore the West End entry image, which you do, and we'll show you a picture on that again, but it would be exactly what Goodhuge had. Provide adequate accessible parking to the Prado area, which we would do and put it in close bands. Add a semi-visible parking structure in a mini park. No, we would not do that. The other park does that. Complete the North Rim Road and perimeter roads. We would do that. Restore the Pan American Plaza. That would be in addition to what's been done before. Remove the vehicular circulation from the Pan American Plaza. We do that. The bridge vehicular closing option. We have between plans B1 and B2 the option then to close off the bridge for vehicles, that is the main bridge coming in, and use it only for pedestrians. And so we could go either way on that one, with below with the Quince Street option as we call it. Cost effective and long term, we think we can handle those. Construction phase, I think it's a very important phase there. We have phased it in. The garage would take 10 months to build, which 3 months in the excavation and 7 months. And it would allow us then 6 months ahead of time to do all the perimeter roads and get those in so the parking could be maintained for the total Prado area up there. You wouldn't lose any parking. And then at the end of the, when the parking garage is completed, you could use the parking garage and then finish off some of the other small roads, all within the time constraints. That's very important if you have public venues up there to keep your operation going while that's happening. This was a poster. This was on Bruce's office. I was really intrigued by this. They extended the exhibition 1 year, and so they're advertising it. And if you look at there, that's the Magic Kingdom, all right. There it is. That's what they're advertising. Here's what we're proposing. We changed the road slightly at the bottom, and rather than lantana going up the hill, we're adding some yellow and white flowers up the hill, which we think would be a beautiful deal. Goodhue loved flowers. Jacarandas through the middle of the park. He wanted that covered there with lantana. We're recommending some better flowers, we think, than lantana up the side. So we want to keep the Magic Kingdom. We want to really do it, but we want to make it so it's viable for those public venues. Thank you.
Individual speakers. We have quite a few, and I'm going to attempt to move this along by calling 3 names at a time. And if you could line up right over there, so when it's your turn, you can just jump right into the microphone. We're going to start with Irma Cantu-Jones, followed by Sari Resnick, followed by Paige Simpson.
The first person. Okay, I'm Sari Resnick. I live downtown. I'm just an individual. I put down I wasn't going to speak, but I will speak just for a minute. I'm very, very opposed to the access road, the bypass road, extremely. I think that it's an abomination. It's something that ruins the view shed when you come into the park, and I think its intent will be very, very destructive to our beautiful jewel of Balboa Park, and I totally oppose it. That's my primary, opposition to this plan. I don't represent any group, I'm just an individual, and I'll tell you, I think that if you approve the Jacobs plan, it will be very destructive to Balboa Park and the beauty that the park represents. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question. Irma Jones indicated she is opposed to the project but does not wish to speak. So Irma, you don't have to comment. Next we'll have Paige Simpson, followed by Sharon Gell, followed by Bob Quigley.
Good evening. I'm here today on behalf of the Balboa Park Cultural Partnership, which as many of you know is a collaborative of 26 cultural institutions in the park. We provide a collective voice for the institutions on issues of mutual concern such as this. And our board, which is comprised of the executive directors of all the cultural institutions in the park, voted early last year to support this project. And today we remain in support and believe it's been a fair and open process and that this is the best alternative to balance the needs of the different park users. The partnership member institutions are dedicated to developing and sustaining the park and advocating for the best Balboa Park experience for our visitors. 69% of visitors to the park come specifically to visit a cultural institution. We live and work here on a daily basis, and our mission is to serve the public. We would not support something that was detrimental to the park and to the visitors' experience of it. We urge you to support the project. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Sharon Gale, followed by Rob Quigley, followed by Dan Soderberg.
Hello, my name is Sharon Gale, Mission Hills. I wanted to talk about Goodhue. I have Goodhue's book. It was my grandfather's copy of the book Goodhue wrote about the park. It has the photos in it, and it shows photos with trees on those hills. When you look at it today, these are pictures I took, and you see the hills are covered with trees. And that was the way Goodhue intended it to be. Let me read you one section, one little thing. It talks about the view from the, going across the bridge from that side, from the west side of the park. And it says, the best first view of the fair gives one the impression of a city of Spanish romance with pearl gray walls and towers and flashes of color from the tile domes and roofs, set in a vivid green of the wooded canyon slopes. So those trees were intended to be there. Unfortunately, those trees hide the bypass. This is from Plaza de Panama's website.
I'm
showing.
sorry, you're out of time.
Okay, can I pass this around?
Sure.
Anyone want to see the book?
Welcome to pass that around. We hope it gets back to you.
I will watch it.
Thank you very much. Rob Quigley. He's not here. He submitted his work in favor of the project. Dan Soderberg, Jeff Kirsch, followed by Rob Seidman.
Dan Soderberg, Chair of the Neighborhood Historic Preservation Coalition. You've heard my position before. This project is an abomination on Balboa Park. It would be a disaster if it went through. But let me focus on something positive right here. We have Bill Lewis. He's a master architect. He's from the legendary firm Deans and Lewis. You know, I'm a native San Diegan. I grew up with some of his landmarks he built in San Diego. Since I was a child, I remember these buildings. He worked on the Mission Valley Shopping Center, the Anchor Store, the May Company building, did the Crabtree building downtown, and he did a very fantastic project, the San Diego Convention Center, the one with the sail pavilion, and that, by the way, had a very complicated parking structure underneath that. So he knows what he's doing, and I'm just proud to say I'm a San Diegan and that we have a San Diegan to design this project, not somebody from out of town doing it, and someone we can be proud of. This is a fantastic project, and I urge you to not vote tonight because you need to wait until the EIR comes out. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Kirsch, followed by Rob Seidner, followed by Peter Ellsworth.